Tudo bom, obrigado.
Mas é em português.
Tá bom. Translator, um ataque de coração por lá, não? Translators. I don't know about you guys, but I am tired. And this was a long day, and yesterday was amazing as well. I've learned a lot, and I hope that some of the things that we're going to share to wrap things up might be useful for you to put things in context. If you're like me, there's a lot of new things that you might have seen, some new frameworks, some new technologies. I hadn't seen some of these folks from Spain and some of these technologies that are coming in, right? And I'm a little overwhelmed. So how do you put this all together? And when you get back to the office on Monday, take the appropriate action, right? And what I hope to present to you a little bit today is a framework for how you may be able to do that and be able to provide you some insights about what's happening in the industry. So my agenda today, to wrap this up here with Rosental, and we wanted to have something like a fireside chat, right? And if there's questions, we wanted this to be highly interactive. This is our chance to sit together as a round table, if you will, and talk a little bit about what we've learned and some takeaways that you can really deploy when you get back to the office on Monday. So I'm going to start with 2 bullets on my presentation, is putting these innovations, whether they're business model innovations, we heard from lots of examples of that, or technical innovations in marketing technologies, ad technologies. We saw alphabet soup, DMPs, SSPs, right, and you know, TMS systems, tag management systems. There's a lot out there. We saw the slide with 3 million logos on it from e-consultancy and Lumascape, right? How do we make sure that we're not reacting to the latest thing? Oh my goodness, Periscope launched yesterday, right? And now we've got to respond to Mirdot, right? And live streaming tools from Skype. No, we don't. We put it inside of the context of a model. And I'm going to share with you the model that we use at Lima Consulting Group. But I'm agnostic, and if you want to use other models, I'm going to show you 2 other ones that you can use. These are free resources, and I'm going to show you where you can go to get them. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the research findings that we had in the latest report of the media and entertainment industry, where we did an audit of the largest 250 websites in the United States in the media and entertainment industry, and what we found. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. So for those of you who saw my early presentation in the morning, this is part 2. So I quickly presented this slide around the digital maturity life cycle. This is 5 stages. It starts out with descriptive analytics, just asking in the past, what happened? And that part in the past is very important. It's what happened. It's the past tense. And that's about data gathering. And I can tell you that most of the industry, based on what I'm going to share in the research we did, is here. So you're focused on data gathering, focused on verifying and validating data, getting reports from individual silos of data, Google Analytics, Chartbeat, Parsley, your DMP from C-Sense, and so forth. You have lots of silos of data. Matter of fact, you're drowning in data, right? And putting that together, at some point, someone wakes up and says, you know what? I'd like to be able to correlate maybe mobile users to web users, or people who have purchasing intent to buy a Ford. There's lots of conversations about Ford earlier, right? And being able to segment that data or have multi-channel, omni-channel views of that data. And so at the end of the descriptive analytics maturity phase, the conversations in your offices begin to talk about data warehouses and data visualization tools, so that you can begin to start looking across these silos of the technologies that are in your organizations. As you begin to make that move, you're able to start looking at data in a more real-time mode. And the question changes from what happened to what's happening. So here we're talking about reporting and analysis that's causal, all right? So the causality may be general, but we know that if we put money over here in, say, email marketing campaigns, that we get an output over there in, say, an uplift in real estate advertisements in our classified section. I don't know why. We tried to do cars, but classifieds for houses worked. We don't know why, but we know what happened. And we know what's happening now in real time. And since the dialogues for data visualization tools have been undertaken, now you're starting to look at multi-channel analytics. And that's the characteristic of the second stage of maturity, which is the diagnostic stage. There's a focus on intelligence. It's a difference between believing in what happened from the hippo, right? The highest paid, I always get that acronym wrong, right? Someone help me out. The highest paid person in the room, right? The opinion of the highest paid person versus the data. The focus begins to look at what's a good number. And when you really start to narrow this down, you ask questions about, well, what's a good number for Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock for my homepage? That was the question that Univision came to us with. And we helped them with that and setting an alert for them. So if they're over-indexing, wow, that's a great piece of content. We should be doing micro form of that content, tweets and what have you. Or that content is underperforming. We've given it real estate that it does not deserve. You need to demote that content and replace it with other content. So you can begin doing alerts and exception-based processing. And we call that the band of excellence. So Tuesday from 10 to 12, these are the bands. You should be between this many impressions and that many impressions. If it's over or under, have the system set up an alert and let the programming team know that they've got something over-indexing or under-indexing. All right, that's diagnostic. And that's what starts happening at the end of the diagnostic phase. So everybody wants to get to predictive. This is where you get those amazing 10,000% ROIs, right? It's very sexy, right? Personalization, segmentation, right? Programmatic buying starts coming in here because we can start doing things on very narrow segments and being able to promote content, products, and advertisements to different segments. There's an investment, though. In the first two stages, those are investments. This stage, the predictive stage, is where you hit your ROI. So if you're going to sell this to your executives and the finance team and the sales team who have to help you work to get these technologies in, you need to recognize the first two stages are investments. So why did it happen? Now the causality moves to a very granular level. And we can really see what's happening, not at just a causal level. If I did this, something happened over here. But we can really start correlating what's going on in the predictive. That's why it's called predictive. So the information is turned into consumer insights. And you have an incredible opportunity now to segment and conduct personalization. And at this stage, as you start exiting the predictive, the conversation begins to saying, you know what? I really like what I've learned about my audience. And it starts turning into questions like, what can I buy from third-party resources like BlueKai or Axiom or certain ad networks that are willing to share this data with you so you can enhance your first-party knowledge of your customers and your viewers and your readers with third-party systems, right? So as an example, BlueKai has about 65,000 lists of cookies that you can rent. And you can ingest that in your DMP and enhance what you already know about your viewers with data you can rent from renting cookies, right? These cookies come from places like Kayak and what have you. So you have purchasing intent to fly to Guatemala, right? And so forth. So now you know why things happen and what should you do. You're beginning to take actions. But even those actions, and these are 3 generations here of activity, those actions start out as manual actions. So we're going to create 2 banners. One for the Guatemalan traveler with purchasing intent, and the other's the default. Okay, it's a manual A/B test. You would then graduate to a rules-based A/B test, right? And the rule would be if, then, else. If this person comes from purchasing intent, it comes from a list of that we've purchased from, say, Blue Kai and has purchasing intent to go to Guatemala, then present one of these ads, else present the normal ad. But that's a rule, and you can start setting up rules in the system, but a person has to go in and manually enter those. The third one, in the 3rd generation, is portfolio-based activity. And when you get to portfolio-based, congratulations, you are advanced to prescriptive. What's the next best action? What's going to happen based on this information about what we know about a user? So, quite frankly, most of the organizations I work with throughout the Americas, very few are here. There's a bias towards action that when you get to this stage because you want these systems to automate the decision for what content, products, and ads show. And finally, cognitive. Cognitive is Siri. I'm interfacing with my data the way I interface with a human being, right? And that's what cognitive computing is all about. We are taking, in the big world of big data science, we are taking those concepts and bringing them to cognitive analytics. Cognitive analytics is a new research field. And you're starting now to see PhD programs opening up cognitive analytics. And the concept here around the maturity is to create experiences around the data that allow a machine to interact with the human being the way a human being acts with the human being. So those are a little further out. I'm just going to summarize that was a kind of a long story about the maturity model. But the investment with the first phase is cash negative. It's an investment. Let's set the expectations of the CFO and the executives straight when you talk about descriptive analytics. You will learn about your customer base, but you may not be able to use that immediately with investments in data. The next stage in diagnostic is generally cash neutral. You should expect to get an even ROI out of that. When you get to predictive, those ROIs are off the charts. Now, I can't tell you how many times the executives have said to me, Paul, we just want to start at predictive. And that's like asking the roofer to come into the place, and you just bought the plot of ground, you bought your domain, right? And you bring the roofer in and say to the roofer, build me the roof. Wouldn't it start with the blueprint? And then maybe we're going to have to initially pour some concrete. And boy, if you don't get that concrete right, by the time you get to the first floor, things get really messy. And that's about the time that I get the call back. It says, can you help us iron this out? So the concept here, and this is why I've been very clear, yes, there's been a lot of innovations coming out of the industry. But this conversation around how to transform your businesses starts with your data. And the data starts with this model here of descriptive, getting the measurements down. This is a summary from, I want to give the proper source. This is not a Lima Consulting Group model. This is from Gardner. And the focus here is on the human effort. Look at the green bar from the 4 stages, descriptive, diagnostic. Getting to action on the bottom right is the most important part, but there's a model, there's a way to do it. All right, so let's look at a very quick model, and I promise to show you how to access some of these. The first one is from the Institute of Operations Research and Management Sciences. This is a professional organization for big data scientists and operations researchers. And I'm the vice chairman of the Maturity Model Subcommittee, and you can find this model at analyticsmaturity.informs.org. It's comprised of 12 dimensions, and when you sit down and work, you can do this yourself, you can do this with the consultant, what have you. And it's 12 questions on a 10-point scale. And it looks at the explanation for the score, the gap analysis, what are you going to do to make it to the number that you want to get to by next year. And it covers these 12 dimensions around people, process, and technology, right? Organizational is the people, the analytics capability is the processes, and then finally the data and infrastructure is around the technology. And this is the type of deliverable that you might expect for a data analytics maturity model inside your organization across these dimensions. The inner circle is where this organization was at, and the green circle is where they wanted to get to within 12 months. All right. So I'm switching gears. I have to wrap up that part there on the models. There's a couple of models from Adobe as well, and let me just flash those on the screen really quickly. The digital marketing model is adobemarketingpro.com, and the one from Target is the adobetargetpro.com. So for those that are interested, you know, I'm going to tweet this deck out so you can get this information if you want to do these models. The Lima Consulting Group model, I don't pretend to have all the answers. We try and use and share these with our customers. All right, so I use a product called ObservePoint. And ObservePoint was founded by the guys who started Omniture, Johnny Pastana, and he's given us an account at Lima to do some research. And we run these white papers on these various industries. We hurried and scrambled and got this one ready for today. And so today's the coming out party for the data around the media and entertainment industry, and having audited the websites for their tags and what tags are on the website. So we're able to look at average load times of the industry, the largest 250 media and entertainment websites in the country. Average score was 66, oh, that was weird. 66, an average score of 66. Average tags, 34 tags. That's a lot of tags. And the number of pages were only 94% tagged. That was a little better than certain industries, but when we start breaking that down, there's a lot of room for improvement. So these are the takeaways. The news and weather websites were the most advanced. They deploy the most. Only 37% had tag management systems deployed. And 26% are opting, oh, that's strange, to use paid TMS systems, tag management system. And the last one is those that deployed the systems were beating those that didn't. So I'm going to switch to Tableau Reader, show just a few visualizations, and wrap up here. So as you would expect, this is Tableau Reader. We're looking at a data science tool to take a look at what was actually revealed in the data here. And advertising tags were the most commonly deployed. But as we looked at these subsectors here, let's take a look at maybe just the top 20 or so. Look at this Bleacher Report has 83 tags. And the sports folks led of the top 5, 4 of them were sports. That was really interesting. And as you start expanding this, you look at, for example, the radio. Look at the radio guys. They're way in the back on the right. If we, off to the right there, right? But we look at the news and weather sites, they're predominantly much more sophisticated in terms of what they're deploying. All right, this is the key slide, and just given the time, I'll probably wrap it up after this slide. So the ObservePoint system, I recognize that not all of us in the room are technologists, but let's just say that the average audit score is a review of the tags that we found on the publicly available site. And a low score on the bottom left would be a company that would be what I would call a journeyman. So they've tried to deploy very few tags, and they've deployed them poorly. Their scores are under the average. So this is in the bottom, or this left corner here, the bottom left corner. The craftsmen have a little different story. They have also deployed very few tags, but they've done them well. They've mastered the craft of deploying those tags. Down here in the bottom right, you have the scouts. These are experimenters. Their organizations are allowing them to buy and experiment with many tags, ad technologies, marketing technologies, but yet they're underperforming. They're not deploying them well. And when you look at the expeditionaries have deployed lots of tags and they did them well. These are the guys, if you were out to cross the country, you would want with you in your wagon wheel. Now, look at those organizations. Let's take a little look here at those on the left. These organizations do not have a tag management solution. They're very far on the left. What happens is they start experimenting. In experiment, we said they deployed the tags on between 0 to 33% of their, or 5% to 33%. So they got a third of the pages with some type of TMS, tag management system, right? So they're just beginning. And you look at the scores and you see from the left to the right, you see it's moving. It moved. The blues, the experimental, there was clearly an improvement there. And then when you move to those that have a free system from experimental, so these free systems would be things like Google Tag Manager, Adobe Tag Manager, Qubit Tag Manager, the orange dots move even further to the right. And for those that invested and paid, not one of them are really on the left side at all, right? There's clearly a correlation between getting the data together and the quality of the audit. So, all right, that concludes my part of the deck around some of the findings. But I think the point here is that those organizations that are moving through the maturity model are really able to get better results out of the return on all those marketing technologies that they're purchasing. In the case of Bleacher Report, 86 technologies.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, we're gonna switch. Can I stay
Okay.
here? The cable can come here.
All right.
All right, so I think I'm going to speak from here. I know that I am between you and the drinks and the caipirinha that you're going to have. So I'm going to be fast. I promise, Ricardo.
Your connection's on that side, right? Where's she
I don't know. No, it's this side. Yeah. The opposites. Yeah. Okay. So we are connected. Let's see if it's there. Ready, set, go. No, it's not. Oh, now it is. Oops, now it's not. Now it is. Now it's not. It's not there? Uh-oh. At this time, and it's probably how it's. Do you know how to? Do you know how to do this? Is the difference?
It's a different version than yours?
Yeah, it's a different version, but can you?
I can try to help you.
Yeah. I think it's a different screens that they are.
We need to go to display.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay.
So we're back here.
Is there? Because I have the ocean there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to talk about my takeaways. You know, the things that I think I would get from this meeting. But before doing that, I wanted to do a little highlight of the you know, it's very interesting for me because I've been coming to the IAPA meetings to SEEP since 1997, and since basically I think 2000 in Fortaleza, I have been speaking to the IAPA folks. Oops, it's complete there, or it's cutting off? It's cutting off. Or do you know how to? I have a genius here, but it's very interesting because all these years, first of all, in the normal assemblies or mid-year, you know, digital was always talked in those seminars before the beginning, and it has never been attracting a lot of attention. And all my tone, you can imagine talking to publishers in 2000 or 2003 when Ricardo Trotti comes to me and say, you know, there's someone in El Salvador, someone from New York cannot come. Can you organize in one day a seminar on internet? And we did. But it was always about what would come, right? So now it's completely different. It's not about the future. It's not the future anymore. We are not talking about the future here. I have not seen anybody talking about what is coming or it's about the new media ecosystem that is already here. So this is really the first take away from this. This is the first time that in the IAPA we talk about, you know, this is what is not here anymore. This is my metaphor that for about 10 years I've been showing as the analog, as the industrial era metaphor for the media ecosystem. This is an ecosystem based on scarcity. This is an ecosystem based on few channels where you, the publishers, control the distribution channels. You control the information that people can get, etc. I mean, it's based on scarcity. And I have been saying this is the media ecosystem that is much more complex, that is coming. And it's not coming, it's already here. We came from the desert, you know, where it's an biological ecosystem, very interesting. There are some rodents there, there's some bush, there's some, you know, these strong cactuses, which is your papers or your TV stations. And this is where any bacteria has a chance. There is light, there is water, there is tons of competition, much more complex, much more dangerous, etc. So many new specimens are being created in this new ecosystem. Your specimens, your animals, your bichos are coming to this. But they may survive or may not survive. I don't know. I mean, the fact that you are here at this time means that maybe your media outlets will survive, but I can tell you that many others will die. So there are many species. I want to show one. I brought one that I have been working with. I'm a member of the board. I have been discussing with the founder before the founder launched it. It's the Tribune, the Texas Tribune that Alberto Ibargoni yesterday talked about. It's an extraordinary success. It's a small news website. It's a non-profit that has been profitable in the last 2 years. We don't call it profit, right? We call it surplus. But it has been very successful. It's a node model because it's what the newspapers have always been, you know, or not always, but have been, or many of them, you know, non-partisan. This one is non-profit and totally digital. So it's basically, since the very beginning, it's news, but not general news. It's news about Texas. It's very vertical. It's a state publication. It's not only news about Texas. When Fort Hood shooting was going on, we are not covering. We just cover politics and public administration in Texas. News data, since the very beginning, it's very based on data journalism. In the beginning, data journalism, now it's data for everything. And events. Events is one of the main sources of income. One event that we do called the Texas Tribune Festival makes $1 million. Makes $1 million. So it is very, very important. It's organized in a sort of a systemic, complex evolving way, but you know, it has audio, it has, we are talking about streaming here, you know, the record stuff that we had in terms of streaming was exactly the streaming of a filibustering in Texas 2 years ago. That was a record of audience because we were the only ones there. Wendy Davis. It started in 2010, I mean actually November of 2009, but basically in 2010 with 12 people. We are more than 55. The reach, I mean, in the first year we had 200,000 people. Now we are stabilizing in 700,000, and we have so much data, and we do so much data analysis that we know precisely how many people in Texas exist in Texas that could be interested in our staff. So you know, Texas has 40 million people. We have. You know, we were reaching 400,000, and then we did some data analysis that said there are at least 4 million that we can. So we are going there. In terms of revenue, I mean, it starts with about $1,600,000 in the first year. It is now about 6,700,000 that we have forecast. This is a new animal. This is a bicho that has been created just 5 years ago, and it has been stabilized. This is the revenue pockets that the Texas Tribune has. It doesn't depend. The other day, someone was asking, "Oh, do you think the oil crisis will, the oil prices will affect the economy in the way that will affect us?" We have so many buckets that we have money from. For instance, the yellow is corporate. This is corporate sponsorship that you may call advertising, but we are a non-profit, so we receive this corporate support. The red is events. It's not only the festival. We do events throughout the year, and this is not only a revenue generator. It's a generator of readers. It's a generator of news. You know, the events are about what is going on. We put the newsmakers there. Then what, I can't read this. What is the white? You are reading in a bigger. What? Foundations. Yeah, this is Knight Foundation, for example, has been one of the investors. Remember what Alberto said yesterday. We don't do charity anymore. We do social investment. They consider this as an investment. Then individual gifts. We borrow from the public broadcast style of membership, etc. And you know, so it's you see in this graphic where the money comes from in terms of philanthropy that has been practically stable, but you see the commerce. I mean, not commerce, but commercial activities that we do with the events, with the corporate sponsorships, etc. That is where it grows. It's a lab. I mean, like any startup, it was created by a venture capitalist who brought this idea that, you know, the donations that we are receiving from foundations is just like equity for you to create your startup. So we try, fail, learn, iterate, repeat. This is a mantra there, and it's all about analytics, about qualitative research that is done all the time, and user testing. I mean, A/B test is part of the day-to-day there. You know, we never launch something without doing A/B tests that can show us what we are where we are. So those events, those things are all interconnected in a way that when I'm saying that we are coming from the desert to the Amazonic forest, is that it's a new structure. It's a new reality. And I love this Kevin Kelly's quote that I think tells a lot. Wealth in this new regime flows directly from innovation, not from optimization. That is, wealth is not gained by perfecting the known, but by imperfectly seizing the unknown. I mean, it's like Matt was saying, don't adopt, or you know, you have to start over. I am not pretending to summarize the main issues of the conference, but I have some lines from my own. The first is what I said in the beginning, right? So the future arrived. It is here. Don't stop talking about what's going to happen, what is the digital future is going to be, etc. There is no speculation. This is what is going on now. It's new, radically different media ecosystem. It is radically more different than the previous one each day that passes. Adapting, Matt again, adapting is not enough. Transform or die, and you're gonna die. There is no way. You're gonna die like you know, you're already start. If you don't transform,
Rosental,
you die.
The theme today was optimism for the future.
I know.
So we're getting to that, right?
But that's why I am saying, you know, you're gonna die. You're gonna transform, so you're not gonna die. Wow, I'm being optimistic, very optimistic. Change the culture. This is the most difficult thing. I think Matt Sanders is going to talk about culture tomorrow in his boot camp, because he always talk about it. Be entrepreneurial. See your transformation as an entrepreneurial initiative. Learn from those who are creating the winners in this new environment. Innovation, innovation, innovation. Try, fail, iterate, learn. Learn things like design thinking, like human-based design. Things that were not compatible with the companies that we had before, that, you know, that is part of the transformation, where you're going to have a creative, you can reimagine, and you can be optimistic. You can be a winner. All right. Technology is central. Technology was not central before. It is central now. Hire more engineers. Develop more things in-house. You can do it. You know, hire brilliant kids. Kids can help you, and hire kids with math, with engineering. You know, find the right tools. There are tons of tools. Here you saw, you know, 1,000 vendors here with great tools. I mean, look for the tools, the free tools, the paid tools, but you need the tools. You cannot do this without the right tools. Collaborate more, make more alliances. This is an environment, I don't know what's going on. This is an environment that requires collaborations, alliances. Is it coming back?
Yeah, it's back.
So then I say data science, data journalism, data marketing, data always. It's always data. It's about data. You know, and it's not about having data. Newspapers have had data for 20 years and have done nothing with data. That era is over. You have to have, like I said, if you don't have a data scientist in your newsroom, and it's not only commercial. It's commercial and newsroom together. I mean, the Chinese wall, you know, you can't keep the ethics, you can't keep the principles without having a Chinese wall. We need to know, we need to merge, we need to learn the innovation report of the New York Times and what they have done since the innovation report last year in terms of data and bringing the people to the newsroom. Mobile is dominant. We are cyborgs. there is the cyborg anthropology. I have the Apple Watch. This is attached in my body. This is part of my body. I consume news here. I get my notifications here. I wake up with this. I mean, this is this is part of the news ecosystem that is completely different. And news organizations should aggressively explore mobile. Mobile is everything. Mobile is, it's a deja vu, because what mobile is doing now is what the web did 20 years ago. And we are committing the same mistakes. I mean, we are bringing the web to the mobile, and like Rafael said here yesterday, we are leaving tons of money, tons of opportunities in mobile there. Audience development is a new science. Audience development is very, very important. It's when the marketing and the newsroom work together with respecting each other, etc. It's not a prostitution of the newsroom, but it must be together. I mean, to understand the development of audience. Engagement is not audience, it's much more. It's not easy. It's not a piece of cake. It's not hiring an intern and putting there to do social media and do Facebook. No, it's a science. You have to put your best people there, because you lost the distribution channel. So you have to be in the real distribution channels. It's an economy of flow. Information is liquid. It's like water, but you have to channel it. So it requires training, it requires investment, seriousness. I know how difficult it's going to be on Monday for you to talk with your boss and say that this is real, but I hope you get, and tomorrow you're going to get even more from the boot camp. Be where people are. I remember the very moment in February, about 4 years ago, that I read in the New York Times this kid saying, I don't read newspaper because I don't need to go to the news come to me. That's how people are consuming our news. I mean, the news comes through Twitter or through Facebook, and then they come to your page to read, or you read there or whatever. Don't be afraid. It's not a fear thing. I mean, people are so afraid of Google, of Facebook, of Twitter, and jealous of. This is a sharing economy, like we saw in the lunch today. So beware they are not coming to you. You have to come, and they are cyborgs. They have the damn things in their body. We sleep with David Ho was talking about that your phone is you. I mean, your phone is you. You go to the bathroom with your phone. I mean, there are stats that most people go to the restroom with your phone. Not only that, you sleep with your damn phone. I mean, every day, I mean, you put the phone charging there, right? But you are there. You don't abandon. This is going to be in your brain one day, but I don't want to talk about the future. Okay, so what else I take home? Digital advertising is more complex, more efficient, and less expensive. There is a lot of money there, but not enough money. I have been, and listening to all this PPP, PGP, whatever, this is Greek, but you have to speak Greek. I mean, if you don't speak Greek, that's why I'm optimistic about you, because you're going to learn that, or you're going to hire people who learn that, because if you don't learn, you'll die. Train your team. Learn as much as possible about digital ads and go for it. There is money. You're leaving money on the table because you don't know how to do it. You don't understand programmatic, blah, blah, blah. But I think this is very important. And I come out of this conference, like many other conferences in the last couple of years, with this conviction. Reduce your company's dependence on advertisement. Create other revenue streams. You need to have other revenue streams. Businesses that were not business that your news organization would be interested before, businesses that you can leverage because you have a news organization, because you have the credibility in because you own that market. So, for instance, the Dallas Morning News is buying all the startup companies that are not necessarily connected with their business, but are connected somehow with the businesses that the newspaper was before, which is to make this person who wants to sell this in contact with this person who wants to buy this. And you know, it's not only advertising that you do this. There are lots of marketing tools and initiatives and outdoor and direct marketing, whatever happens. So good journalism has always been subsidized. And we have, as responsible news organizations that want to keep serving our communities, we need to find a way to subsidize good journalism. And staying in the old-fashioned advertising when Google is eating and Facebook are eating our lunch, we have, and you know, don't cry for me, Argentina. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, if it's, oh, Google is eating my, you know, go there and try to do something, try to bring money from other parts. Create more products, more services. The unbundling that we talked in the first panel yesterday. I mean, think what you can do to serve the niches of your community. Saturate each niche. You have to saturate it. Remember, Facebook was created in a dorm in Harvard. And they saturated Harvard. They did completely, and then they had to go elsewhere. So if you have sports, your country has sports, why you don't have a freaking fantastic website or whatever to saturate the market for your sport niches? People love sports. People look at the models that are working in the United States, like SB Nation, like this Bleacher, or you know, many others that there are, and services, right? Paywalls. You know, paywalls may be part of a solution, of a bigger solution, but paywall is not a solution. It may be part, but it's not a solution. You know, unless you have a very specific, high-value product that you can charge a lot of money, you know, many newspapers, like someone showed here yesterday, many newspapers had and realized how wrong they were, and they came out of the paywall. I think there are, you know, the New York Times is a very working. You have to understand also that a paywall comes with a lot of marketing, a lot of efforts. I saw a slide of someone from the New York Times showing each jump in their subscription, digital subscription, was a reaction of a marketing initiative. Nothing comes, I mean, if you put your paywall there, you're the best newspaper in your country, whatever, put your paywall there and go to sleep, and you're going to see what's going to happen. It's not going to be good. Anyway, paywall. Be ahead of the curve. I mean, we have just heard about robots here. Rafael, also, I don't remember. David. Yeah, and talk about robots. I am very enthusiastic about VR, about virtual reality. I think there are lots of opportunities, even commercial opportunities. I mean, we are going to enter the product or enter the apartment that you are buying or whatever for virtual reality. This is my photo seeing for the first time a Gannett, a reportage, a story that was produced by a newspaper in Des Moines that was totally in virtual reality, that you put the the Oculus Rift, and you enter the story. I mean, like you're saying, you don't need to respond to each new thing, but you should be curious and see how you can apply this to journalism, how you can apply this to business also. So this is the Oculus Rift that they are about to launch a new version. It was bought by Facebook, as Claudia showed here, and it starts the price now for $545. And here is the cardboard that starts with $4. For $4, you can buy. You can even put in a package and distribute a few thousands in your town and be the first to experiment with this. And now about robots. I mean, this is very interesting. This NPR is one of the best things in journalism in this country. I love NPR, and they have this program, Planet Money. And Planet Money did sort of a bet. Who would write a story faster, a robot or an experienced reporter? So they gave the same information about Denny's, the restaurant chain, earning report to an experienced report, this guy, Scott, and the guy went there and was writing very fast, and then they gave it to the robot. Wordsmith is the name of this company, or this robot, and boom, in 2 minutes the robot did the story. I mean, it's you know, the robot won 7-2. I mean, the reporter was better in terms of time, right? Better than some country from 7-1 was horrible. Anyway, so the robot won, and here are the two stories. You can see it. So it's online. Go to Planet Money website, and now they are voting which story is better. And of course, the human story is much better, and much more nuances. But there are thousands of stories being written every day by robots. The Associated Press is using it in a daily basis. It is expanding, and we are convinced that it's not replacing reporters, but taking away of journalists stories that are very boring, very mechanical, and leaving time to do special stories. But anyway, robots are coming everywhere. Why am I optimistic? I'm going to end. I'm optimistic. Of course I am. The king is dead. Long live the king. I mean, there is one system, there is one ecosystem that is dead, that is, you know, is past. We are still, some of us are still making a lot of money with that because it's a sort of an inertia. But there is a new media ecosystem that is full of opportunities. If you don't try to replicate in this, to bring the cactus to the desert, cactus will drown, will die in the desert. So I'm very optimistic because you're not bringing the cactus. Independent, professional journalism is still a fundamental pillar of the democratic society. So there will be journalism. Since the caves, human beings always had storytellers. I mean, all tribes had storytellers. We need this functioning society. It may not be as profitable as a money machine as it was, like Alberto Ibarguen yesterday said, 25% of profitability, the Miami Herald in those days when he was a publisher. New models, new kinds of news organizations are emerging and are working and are improving and are disrupting old ones who are not awakened. You know, you see that you know, the disruption is happening, but you can be the disruptor. You have to come to the boot camp tomorrow to know how to be the disruptor with Matt Sanders. So finally, it is a fascinating, brave new world. I am pretty optimistic. We have never had so much audience for our news. We have never reached so many people. It's not monetizing, it's true. But you know, the business, capitalism is flexible enough to offer, but you have to come to the new environment and take advantage of this great conference. Thank you, Ricardo Trotti, for organizing this. And now you have to tell me what. Thank you.
All right.